Next, the big money CEO that chucked it all for a spot in the funny papers.
When my wife's angry at me, what I do is I outsource her affection to a woman in Bangalore. See, this works great. No, seriously.
Welcome back to The Big Idea. It's Unusual Jobs Night here. My next guest is definitely a one-of-a-kind, probably the first CEO ever to have the big idea to write a comic strip about CEOs. It's called CEO Dad, and he's bringing it to CNBC. Tom Stern, author of CEO Dad. Welcome to Big Idea.
Happy to be here.
Well, so you're actually working on the first kind of animated series that will ever show up on CNBC based on your comic strip.
That's correct.
CEO Dad. And a little bit of, first let's establish, what is a CEO Dad? Somebody out there who should know if they're kind of behaving like a CEO Dad.
There's a continuum. I mean, it's just like alcoholism. You know, you have the people who drink too much every night at cocktail parties, and then you have those maybe who are living under a bridge, sadly, with a brown paper bag.
Right.
This, I think, there's a continuum, too. The most extreme CEO Dad case is the kind of guy that you run into and you say, how are you doing? And he says, well, it's been a rough week. I had to let one of my kids go.
Right.
And you say, gee, I'm really sorry. That's really tough. He goes, yeah, you know, but her numbers just weren't there. Right. What are you going to do? Yeah. And you say, well, you must feel guilty. And he says, I do. You know, it's hard to lose a daughter, but it's even worse to lose a write-off. Right. So these are the guys who are emotionally cut off.
Can't kind of blur the lines.
Right. Then there's a gradation down. These are the guys who, they would never fire one of their kids, but they'd consider having them transferred, you know, if they can find the right storage facility.
Was it a bad sign for me in earlier marriages when wives would say to me, I don't work for you? I mean, was I somebody who was handling things wrong?
But what I do when that happens, and I'm still a recovering CEO Dad, when my wife's angry at me, what I do is I outsource her affection to a woman in Bangalore. See, this works great. No, seriously, every time I'm depressed, I need some nice words, I just call an 800 number. And it's absolutely fantastic. In fact, last week, Donnie, not only was this woman nice to me, but she helped me transition from high-speed cable to DSL. So it's all working great. It really is.
Your comic strip is kind of about one of these functional, dysfunctional families.
Yes.
Before we get to that, obviously what makes this so funny, as any comedy is that there's reality. There are guys that unfortunately can't leave the office at home.
Totally.
And you found yourself in that situation. You were running a very successful
recruiting
search business.
Yes.
One of those guys on the phone at Disney World the entire time.
Oh, well, that's the story. That's one of my kind of the saddest stories about me. And one of my low points was I went to Disneyland with my family, and all I could think about was this big deal that I was trying to close. And my kids are, you know, feeling totally neglected. And in fact, even Goofy was, you know, threatening to call social services. Right. So I was like, you do that to me? Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Right. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I have cartoon characters trying to do interventions. Yeah. It's a very bad sign.
This whole idea, and kind of a really life change, really came about from a very, very traumatic experience in your own life.
It did. What really happened was I descended into CEO Dadism, which means that everything is about getting ahead, winning, being in control, ordering people around,
and you basically rationalize it. Well, this way I'm taking care of my family. If they could, this is so you can live the lifestyle you want. So we always can rationalize.
But I was very lucky because I married a woman, A, with infinite patience, and B, who didn't really care how much money I made. She really wanted me. She was impressed when I spent time with the kids. That's what she liked. So we descended into a really bad marriage, most of which was my fault. Right. A kid who really didn't feel close to me. And then what changed for me was that we had a home invasion. And two guys followed her home and my little girl, and they robbed us. And it was a terrible event. It's hard to describe. It's total terror. I came out, I was in the home, I came out, I heard screams. A guy put a gun to my head. They were trying to steal her ring. She was in a panic protecting our daughter, who had no idea what was going on. And that event changed my life because, as you can imagine, I had almost lost not only my own life potentially, but seen, you know, losing my family. But the real killer and the real moment of epiphany came when I watched my 5-year-old daughter go up to my wife as I was making a phone call, calling 911, and say, Mommy, here's a glass of water, here's a towel. And most kids would have run in fear. Her face was all hurt and there was blood everywhere. And I thought, my God, this little girl, the poise. And I haven't really raised her. I don't even really know her. And I felt like weeping. And that's the moment when I went, you know, you just rationalize everything, you try to charm your way out of stuff, you've got to change. And I changed my life. And,
God bless. Good for you.
And it's, I owe it to my family.
If you Tell me the development of the CNBC show. Where does that stand there?
Well, it stands, you know, with the executives. They
Susan
have all the
Krakauer,
power.
that wacky development genius
She's
of ours.
unbelievable,
right.
and she's on the go. She is. She's juggling
Crazy,
400
crazy,
projects.
Crazy, brilliant, crazy.
Unbelievable.
Okay,
So listen, I owe it to her and Regina, who, you know, took an interest when I sent them a bunch of strips. Where it is that I have an amazing team. I always, my credo is you have to be more talented than I am, which isn't really that difficult, to be on the team. So I have Bob Balaban, who is the famous character actor, writer, director. He's directing and helping. Matt Goldman, who was on the first 3 seasons of Seinfeld, is my showrunner and helping with the writing. And we are talking to some big name stars to do the voices. Really impressive. I can't say anything for probably 2 or 3 weeks.
Any chance any big idea hosts can get a little voiceover in there?
Of course.
I mean, I got experience here. That pays good money, that voiceovers.
Absolutely.
Did a whole show on voiceovers.
We were looking for it. How do you feel about scale, by the way? Are you okay with that?
I'm a scale kind of guy. You got to start at the bottom. Tom Stern, author of CEO Dad. It's a fantastic. You've got a book. You got the comic strip, the show on the way. Great lessons in this, really. CNBC's first cartoon is coming soon, so keep your eyes peeled. Don't go anywhere. Thanks, man.